Ella, what can caregivers do to help in recovery?
I think that this is a very good question. First of all, I would like to say that when we talk about recovery, it's usually we are talking about recovery of the person with mental illness. But I believe that it's really important to recognize that families also need to go through their recovery journey. And in order to do that, they have to recognize, first of all, that the person can have a life and can have a better life than maybe they have thought before. They may like to adjust their expectations or their dreams and wishes, but it's really important to emphasize that if family is not going through their own journey of recovery, it will be very difficult for them to help their loved one to recover. So when we talk about, again, the CHIME model, when we talk about hope, sometimes it's really important that the family will be the holder of the hope for someone who at least temporarily doesn't have hope. And again, in order to do that, I think that families have to recognize the losses, and the grief which is associated with mental illness, because very often it's really associated with what we have hoped for our loved one to have. And when you have to adjust your expectations, I think that you have to recognize that there may be some things that he's not going to do, but he can very well do some other things. So in order to hold the hope for someone with mental illness, it's very important for families to adjust their perception and their expectation. And then we are talking about connectedness, about relationship. Families very often are the major or the main source of relationship for a person with mental illness. So they have a very important role in sustaining this relationship, but also in encouraging the person to have relationship outside of the immediate family. So this is connectedness and relationship. When we talk about identity, it's very important that family will not see the person with mental illness as his illness, but also recognize that he has many other aspects of his life, and he can, as we said earlier, he can have very good life despite of the symptoms of mental illness. So again, the family can be very instrumental in helping someone to recover if they go through a similar process. So, this is the identity. Meaning, again, encouraging someone to find meaning. Sometimes it is really not, again, as we said earlier, meaning is something very individual, very personal. The person has to define, to identify, his own meaning. But the family can be standing by and help the person to explore different possibilities. So again, families can be really helpful, really instrumental in helping someone to move forward. And empowerment. There is often enough a tendency on the part of the family to do things for their loved ones. And this is associated with the best intentions to support, to help, and so on and so forth. But I think that it's very important for families to recognize that sometimes doing too much for someone when he can actually do that gives a message that he cannot do that. So, this may be counterproductive, counterindicative, and it's really very important. Yes, family is there to help, to support, and so on and so forth, but the main responsibility to manage one's life is one's responsibility and not the family's.